Hey, so what do you do when you have financial disputes, problems, disagreements? I'm going to share that with you today in this week's Wealth Walk. Hey, Jerry Fetta here, CEO and founder of Wealth Dynamics. I'm here for another Wealth Walk this week. This is me showing you that I'm walking the walk, what I'm doing with my finances. It's very transparent because there's a lot of people out there teaching and talking and videos and content, and they've got nothing going on with their finances. They're not doing the stuff they teach about. So I want to share with you today how you can handle when you have financial disputes, arguments, disagreements, maybe even legal attacks, right? Because these are things that if you're an investor, if you're doing real estate, if you're a business owner, if you're doing anything with your finances outside of just giving your money to banks and Wall Street, at some point you're probably going to run across this, right? And so I can give you a scenario. Let's say you do an investment and you have an agreement with someone, and then they on the other end think the agreement was different, and then you think it was different. And now all of a sudden you're in conflict, and you're in arbitration or court case or whatever it might be, or maybe you're just trying to work it out with them. Right? You're going to run into this. And this is something that most of us don't know how to handle. This is something that most of us aren't preparing for because we don't expect it. So I'm here to tell you, if you're doing, any sort of business activity or real estate investing, anything that involves people, you need to be prepared for this, right? You need to have your ducks in a row. And I'm going to share with you, how to do that, because this is something that I've been through right now. I'm handling something like this currently. I'm going to show you what I'm doing here. So first things first, in a worst case scenario, you need to make sure you have your asset protection plan in place, right? So you need to make sure you have your asset protection plan in place. Hey, you want to see a magic trick? Get a copy of my book, Blueprint to Financial Freedom. I know it's in front of my chest and my face because I want you focusing on the book and not me for a moment before you go back to focusing on me and the content. What does that mean? That means up here, you have your revocable living trust. Okay, and I'm not an attorney. I'm just sharing with you guys what I do. Okay, you could have a layer here with a domestic asset protection trust, further protection. And beneath this, you would have an anonymous holding corporation. We've heard the old adage, own nothing, control everything. Okay, this is what we want to do here. So you have an anonymous holding corporation. Down here, you have your various investments and businesses. These are assets, right? So you have assets. You might have a business. You might have a partnership. Okay, you can also have your house here in the trust. One of the things you're doing here is you probably can have a management company over here too. Let's add management company. You're protecting your assets, right? So if you own rental properties, if you own real estate, if you're doing seller finance, if you have a business, it doesn't matter. All of these ideally should be inside of an LLC. Asset protection, LLC. Okay. This holding company should be also an LLC. These can all be anonymous, meaning your name is not publicly reflected as the owner of the LLC. That's going to give you a little bit more asset protection as well. This is in the event that somebody is like, let's say you have a property, the tenant wants to sue the owner of the property. Okay. Let's say it's here. You've got a property here. Got a house. Okay. Tenant wants to sue the owner of the house. You never keep cash here. You sweep this up to your holding company. You might even then throw it into your management company. Okay. You keep minimal money here in the LLC. They sue. They don't know who owns it. Right? So they got to figure out who owns it first. That puts a little bit of time and expense. If they do sue and win, your other stuff is protected and blocked off. Right? Like you've got this asset protection strategy so that there's silos, there's separation between the things that you own. Okay. So that's on the first side of things. This is in a worst case scenario. Now, the other thing here is documentation. Documentation. You need to have documentation of all of your financial transactions, your records, your communications, right? So you need to document communications. What is this? This is emails, recordings, mail, doesn't matter. If you received communication from this person you're having a conflict with, document all of it, right? And this doesn't need to be like doomsday prepping. Like have a Dropbox file and put it in there. That's all you need to do. Like put it somewhere safe, secure. You can access it later. Okay. Financial records is another one. Financial records and transactions, right? If you document your records and transactions, let's say someone says, hey, you owe me this. And you say, well, no, I don't, because that's not the agreement. And then you can say, hey, here's what I paid you, or here's what you paid me, or whatever the thing was. You can show the financial transactions. It's very important. Okay. Documenting legal records. Legal records would be things like contracts, agreements, right? It can be very clearly outlined what was agreed upon. Okay, all of this stuff should be in writing ideally. You do a 1099, you do an operating agreement, you do a partnership agreement, you do an investment agreement. Document, right? All of this should be in writing because then you can produce it. There's no mystery. It's like, hey, here's what we signed. Here's what it said. Here's what we both agreed to. Right? Like just that alone, like these minimal things I've mentioned can really prevent conflict. Okay. Now the other thing here, hey, what's up? Jerry here. I just wanted to give you another reminder. Grab my book, Blueprint to Financial Freedom. It's going to be one of the best books you have ever read on finance. I can promise you that you're going to love it. It's also a free offer. So if you go to jerryfetta.com/B2F promo, you can get that now. Is mediation. Okay. One of the problems when you're in a dispute is you have two sides. You got party one, you got party two. This guy maybe has a lawyer. This guy maybe has a lawyer. And the lawyers are essentially, maybe inadvertently, promoting conflict between the two parties. This guy doesn't speak to this guy. This guy doesn't speak to this guy, right? So now we're not communicating. We've each hired a lawyer or someone representing us. We're sicking them on each other. It's like promoting a UFC fight or a wrestling match. It just gets worse. So here's what I would do. It's fine for this guy to have a lawyer. It's fine for this guy to have a lawyer. I would have a neutral party in the middle facilitating communication between these two with the lawyers involved as necessary. Why? Because communication solves it. We can come into, like, think about this. Have you ever gotten in an argument with your husband and your wife? Has it ever been successful to be like, I'm not going to communicate with you. We're going to run everything through our own separate people. My friend is going to talk to your friend about what I said. And your friend is going to talk to my friend about what I said. No, you're just creating chaos if you do that. Nobody in their right mind would do that. Okay. So if you're in a conflict, one of the things you should be looking at is how do I minimize this without escalating and making it worse, right? So how do you facilitate communication between the two parties that are in conflict? You can't do it by the lawyers talking to each other and leaving the main people out. The main people need to talk. There should be a neutral party facilitating that conversation. There can be lawyers and CPAs and whoever else needs to be involved, witnesses, all of that stuff. That's fine, right? But that main communication should be happening up top here. Right? And if it's nasty and gruesome, like hold off until you're in the time and the place in person, obviously would be the best, where you can actually have a face-to-face conversation. Because here's the thing, people are never as bad as you think. People are never as bad as you think. They're generally good. But when you're in a conflict with someone, you start coming up with all these ideas that they're this and they're doing that, they're a criminal and this, and you just, all this stuff, right? All of this craziness. They're never that bad. Never. So you have the asset protection just in case. If it goes south, you're like, I'm protected. Okay. You have the documentation, all the stuff I mentioned before in case you need it. Then you've got the communication. Okay. Protection, documentation, communication. This is how you handle a conflict. So anytime I've been involved in a financial conflict or a dispute or a disagreement, it doesn't happen often, but when it does, sometimes it can be bothersome and troublesome. And I never like it when people are upset at me or I'm upset at them. Never a fun experience for anybody. Those three aspects really make it more smooth. And I want to share this because not only is it a wealth walk and it's like, my own transparency on here's some of the stuff I'm working on right now. Here's some of the things I've set up. Here's some of the things I do, right? But most of us never consider this. And it makes sense. We leave, the 401k world and the Wall Street world where it's like you're basically, a financial cattle, like you just another name in the bin and you got your little ear tagged and they milk you for all they can until it's time for you to die, right? You don't really need to do this stuff if you're in that. The 401k, nobody's going to sue you in your 401k plan. right? Like usually those are protected assets anyways. When you start venturing into the real estate stuff and the business stuff and this and that, then it matters, right? And if you've not really dealt with it before, it's not something you've been used to because you've invested within more of a consumer retail approach. And now you're going into this world of self-directing and you are more responsible for what happens. You need to start thinking this way. Okay? Expect the best, plan for the worst. That's what my dad always taught me. Expect the best, be prepared, plan for the worst. So I'm just telling you, plan. Document things, save transactions, have a bookkeeper, keep your bank statements, have your trust, have your LLC set up. And if you're watching and you need help with any of this, I am a financial educator, so I'm not an attorney or a CPA, but I have law firms I work with. I've got CPA and tax firms I work with. I'm happy to help you, introduce you to these people, get whatever you need to get set up so that those bases are covered for you. That's all for today. I hope that this video is helpful. Like, share, subscribe, or comment below. I'll see you next time. Hey, this is Fetta here. I want to thank you for watching my video, watching my content. I hope you enjoyed it. If you would like to learn more about the Blueprint to Financial Freedom and how you can achieve passive income that exceeds your savings, your expenses, your taxes, your generosity, and build wealth like the top 1%, I want to encourage you, grab a copy of my book, The Blueprint to Financial Freedom. You can go to jerryfetta.com/B2F promo, or you can click the link in the description of the video here. The copy is free. You cover your shipping. We'll send the book out to you, and we'll send you an email with a bunch of great bonus material also for free. Get the book, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you on my next content.